Hi there, welcome. My name's Sean Bay of sellingwithspirit.com. I'm here today with Beth Belo of the Introverts.com. I'm glad you're with us. Beth and I got together thinking about what could we do for our introvert friends this holiday season, and we want to support you in so you're not dreading the holidays, but actually go beyond thriving to really enjoying the holidays with your friends and family without being drained and totally having fun at the same time. So I'm glad you want to that you're here to learn about those tips. So the first thing I want to do before we get the scoop from Beth is I have her bio right here, so I'm going to read it. Beth Belo serves as a guide to introvert entrepreneurs who want to amplify their strengths and build sustainable, energetically aligned businesses. She's a professional coach, author, podcaster, and speaker, and is based in the Pacific Northwest, serving introverts worldwide. Beth is the author of Insight, Reflections on the Gifts of Being an Introvert, and the forthcoming The Introvert Entrepreneur, Amplify Your Strengths and Create Success on Your Own Terms, to be published by G Books in November 2015. And of course, you can go learn more about Beth at the Introvertentrepreneur.com. So she's totally equipped to help us learn how we can survive the holidays. Thanks for joining us, Beth.
Thanks, Sean Bay. I'm happy to be here.
So the first question, I have my list of questions here because I was thinking of these before we got on the call today. And so what are we talking about in the first place? What's it mean to be an introvert?
It's always good to clarify that point because I think there are a lot of misunderstandings. Being an introvert means that you gain energy from solitude and drain energy during social interaction. It doesn't have anything to do with your social skills, but it does have to do with how you show up in social situations, or or how you might be perceived or how you might feel about them, because they require a lot of energy. So in order to have the energy to show up for work, for holiday parties, for family gatherings, introverts must retreat. We must have some downtime, alone time, quiet time, restorative time in order to replenish our energy reserves so that we can go out and do those social activities. So,
yeah, that's a great definition.
Yeah, it's I don't like to think of introvert and extrovert as opposite because we all have elements of both within us, but extroverts tend to be on the, if you want to say the opposite, where they gain energy during social interaction. So the holidays are probably sort of an extrovert extravaganza because there's so much going on. They get to sort of, feed, but even they could get, kind of overwhelmed this time of year. So you can imagine if an extrovert gets overwhelmed at Christmas time and holiday time, think about the introvert. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, so this confusion, there's, you probably know Susan Cain, who wrote the book Quiet. And just using that word quiet, and you mentioned needing quiet as an introvert, seems to be equated with shy or maybe antisocial.
That's right.
You're saying those are different.
Exactly. Shyness has to do with social anxiety. And so I want to go to the party, but I have some fear or I have nervousness. And that's very different than being an introvert and knowing that going to that party is going to take all of my energy and maybe dreading it for a different reason than someone who is shy. And antisocial has to do with, if you look at the true definition of it, it's really about someone who is disruptive to the social order in a destructive way. And so, yeah, I know. It's like, whoa, you're really getting really dramatic there if you were to collapse introvert and antisocial. But yet people will do it because antisocial has become watered down to just mean somebody who doesn't like socializing. And so lots of people will lump introverts into that category because we seem to be adverse to a lot of socializing, and our society thinks that we should, be social, like socialization is the judge of how we are as leaders or friends or family members. It's like people will judge us to some degree by how social we are. And, that's not fair.
Yeah,
it's not
I can
necessarily an
see
accurate thing.
how introverts could feel very, I don't know, guilty or out of place
Right.
because it seems to be so, takes so much more effort for them to prove themselves like all these other extroverts out there.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's true. And even the word quiet, I've heard some introverts say, I don't even want to necessarily describe myself as quiet because I'm not. I might be a little bit more reserved. I might only speak when it's necessary, but I wouldn't necessarily characterize myself as quiet. And so even that, there are some who say, I'm an extroverted introvert, or I like being social. I just have to acknowledge it takes a lot out of me. You, Shanbei, are an introvert, correct? And I don't necessarily put you. I don't necessarily
Hard to
put
believe
you.
for
I
people.
know. Well, see, I don't necessarily put you in that, the silent type,
Sure.
So, but I also know and guess that you know how to manage your energy so that you can show up to be the big presence that you are. You manage to do that by taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that hasn't always been the case, and I know we'll talk about tips in a moment.
Yeah.
And it's still a challenge because I'm outgoing, and there's expectations that I'm extroverted, and what that means, and so, which would be almost easier if I really was quieter, and there wasn't that expectation that I'm the life of the party.
Right. That's such a great point. The outgoing introvert, people don't understand that those two things can go together. And so they'll have heightened expectations of how you're supposed to be all the time. And that's not always true.
So I want to ask you, Beth, what are some maybe not productive strategies or tactics that introverts might use that could backfire or even prevent them from enjoying the holidays?
Well, I think first is, and you alluded to this before, but we can let guilt determine what we say yes to. And when we are saying yes and saying we'll do something or be somewhere or be with someone out of guilt, or because we feel like the truth, which is I need some downtime, isn't good enough, that we will say yes to things that we really shouldn't. and then that ends up, we end up resenting that we have to go to whatever it is, or we have to be wherever we are. And that's not good for us, and it's certainly not good for the other person. It's not good for the situation. So we're kind of sabotaging ourselves when we come from that place of guilt or fear of being judged or misunderstood.
Right.
Yeah, that can weigh very heavily on us if we don't find ways to navigate the yeses and the nos in such a way that is honoring to what we really need.
Yeah, such a good point. No wonder many introverts just dread the holidays altogether. Or like a friend of mine told me that he was going to, was considering like just booking a last minute trip so that he didn't have to say anything. He'd have an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to, be in the holiday spirit with the rest of everyone.
Yeah, and that's the sister thing. I was coming up with the right word, but it's compatible with what I was just saying about saying yes, which is when we say no, we make up elaborate excuses. Even going so far as to book that hotel or book the trip or whatever it is, but it might be, oh my gosh, I have to get home to the dog, or oh, I've got a splitting headache, or oh, I've got to get up in the morning. All these excuses, and the more elaborate and detailed the excuse, the more transparent it is that it's an excuse. So sometimes it is true. Like I have truly developed headaches when I've been at events, and part of it's because I get overstimulated and it just becomes too much. So I can honestly say, my head is killing me. I think I need to call it a night.
I've hit the wall.
I've said I've hit the wall. I've said, and I've said in all sincerity, I'm out of bandwidth. This is all I had. So I've had a great time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. So we don't have to
Well, this
apologize,
is
for what's going
yeah.
on. We just say it and own it.
Yeah, I love that. Which is a nice segue into the tips. So
Yeah.
let's talk about tips to manage our energy and have fun at the same time.
Okay. And you're going to see me looking down every so often here because the tips I have are written down in true introvert fashion, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. so that
Oh,
so
great. Yeah, sounds like me.
so and probably a lot of people watching this. So the first thing plays off of what we were just saying about saying yes and no, and that is only say yes if you truly mean it. Don't say yes out of guilt or obligation. Say it if you really want to be there and you feel like you can, you have the capacity to enjoy yourself. Understanding that not everything around the holidays is going to be your choice. There are some family
Yeah.
gatherings or, other things that we feel like, or the office Christmas party that we feel like we have to go to. In that case, I invite you to do enough reflection that you can come to a place where you are saying yes to some aspect of going to that event. So that when you go to it, you are going with, your full willingness, not kicking and screaming, or you have to drag me in there. You truly can say yes to being there.
I love that.
And a couple of things around that, if you need, don't carpool if you can help it. Drive separately. That way you're independent. You can come and go as you need to. You're not trapped
Yeah.
by the extrovert that you rode with who wants to shut the place down. You have amount of freedom. And then you can also decide before you even go to the event, how long do you want to stay? You can say, well, I'm going to give myself 45 minutes. I'm going to stay a minimum of 45 minutes. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to talk to a couple of people. At the end of that 40 minutes, 5 minutes, I'll check in with myself. If it feels like it's time to go, I'm going to go. And I'm going to be totally okay with that. If I feel like staying a little bit longer, then I'll stay. But what I'm doing is I'm giving myself permission to only stay as long as I want to without feeling like, I'm obliged to. So again, I'm putting myself at choice.
Yeah.
So I think
so
that's
great.
really important. Other tips unrelated to that, but still related to the holidays, do as much shopping as you can online. Save the energy that you would expend shopping in the stores. You don't want to waste your energy on sales clerks and waiting in line. You want to save your precious energy, or fighting for the last Barbie. That's not a good use of our energy. Either shop online or, find ways. I love making things for people. So if you're crafty, use
Sure.
that as a way to indulge and recharge. But save your energy whenever possible for the people that you love and the activities that you love.
Yeah.
Preserve that.
Right. There's so many things to choose from. Why waste it on things that are going to drain you so you can't show up for the important things?
Exactly. When you
Great tip.
when you find out something's been canceled, besides doing like a happy dance, don't try.
Hooray!
Hooray! Yeah, you're an introvert when you get excited about cancel plans, and cancel plans happen around the holidays, and they might not happen with the parties, but they might happen with a client or a colleague who you were going to get together with, for coffee. If those plans get changed, take advantage of that found time. Don't try to fill it with stuff to do unless you just absolutely have to. And you say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I have that hour now. I can go do blah, blah, blah. Instead say, okay, that person just gave me a gift. And they gave me a gift of time that can never be replaced. And so really be intentional about how you choose to use that time. And if you're me, you take a nap. Pure and simple. That's the default.
You're like, hooray, there's a nap.
There's nap time, exactly. Nap 1, nap 2, nap 3,
Yeah, I know.
Just whatever. Because that's how I recharge. I'm kind of cranky if I don't get my nap. Like a little kid. So, don't fill your found time with stuff, or at the very least, be intentional about it. And make a choice about it. And then, lastly, keep up your self-care routines as you're able to.
Okay, yeah.
Whether that's healthy eating or exercising or napping, spending time with your partner or your children or your pets, all of those things that nourish you, taking meditation time. It's tempting to say, I don't have time for that. Or, all bets are off during the holidays. I can't do it. Yes, it's true that you might have more things, pulling you in different directions. And so it might seem like you have less time. I'd invite you not to take an all or nothing approach to those self-care routines. If you exercise for an hour, but you can only exercise for maybe 20 minutes one day, just exercise for the 20 minutes. Don't decide to skip it all together and have a cupcake instead, which is awfully tempting, which is also probably my default. So I need to practice what I preach. But, to whenever possible, even if it's, you meditate for 5 minutes instead of your usual 15, still honor those things that nourish you so that you've got those touchstones and you have those opportunities to recharge in the midst of all of the busyness.
Yeah. Those sound like great tips, not only for introverts, but also extroverts.
Absolutely.
To really, manage their, be at choice is what I heard.
Be at choice.
Manage your energy and totally keep up your self-care and regular routines.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't go crazy.
Exactly. So what about you, Shambe? I'm curious, how do you take care of yourself during the holidays?
Yeah, thanks so much. I also wrote down, because I was glad that you asked me to participate, so I could write down and consider what do I do. And it's along what you're talking about, but planning in advance and really kind of putting in place the structures that support me. So, for example, just saying yes to one holiday party a week.
Nice.
A couple of weeks ago, I did 3 in one day, and I was like, what was I thinking? Because that was on a Saturday, and I went to 3 parties, and I was wiped out for the next 3 days.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I had to be up at each one, and you're at a new one, and so it's like a whole new kind of energy drain at each one.
And a whole new set of expectations.
Would be like, oh my God, this is like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they might crash for one day. They might crash for one day.
Commit to one is what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, when I do it. And then when you're actually at the party, I often jump in to help in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I like to help in the kitchen for one, but the other thing is that it makes me part of the party, but it doesn't take as much energy.
Yeah.
Because people mostly congregate in the kitchen anyhow.
Yes.
So people are there, they're talking, and then I'm washing the dishes or doing something else that's mindless and recharges me because I don't have to interact on a level that is necessary if I wasn't doing that.
Yep. Definitely.
And then, and 2 other ones are kind of related. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but to slip in the bathroom, not because I have to use it.
No, I have never done that.
But because I really need to go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
You're in an enclosed place. Noise is muffled. I can just zone out for a second and breathe. Yeah. Take a break. And when I cannot take a break, obviously, in the midst of the action.
Right.
And then the other related to that is if I'm driving, I can slip out and go to the car and do the same thing, meditate for a few minutes, or even read a couple of chapters not a couple of chapters, but maybe a couple of paragraphs in a book.
Right.
And so, and then I can come back and re-enter having managed myself. And it's just, knowing I think the whole key is knowing yourself and how can you support yourself regardless of what's going on around you.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are great tips.
Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yeah, those are great tips. And it reminds me, the other thing I love to do especially if I'm in somebody's home, is I'm really hopeful they have pets. Because if there's a cat or a dog, that's sort of a social way of stepping away from the group. Like it's an acceptable way of stepping away from the group to go say, oh, I'm going to go say hi to the cat or the dog and, pet them a little bit and pay attention to them. That's another way that I've been able to like separate myself from the group and recalibrate a little bit, as well as just enjoy, the company of a furry creature.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, thank you, Beth. This has been so supportive of me because
Good.
I still have tinges of guilt even when I go to the bathroom for myself, right? And to know that there's other people out there who are also
Yep.
like me, and how do we manage our energy so that we can, thrive
Yeah, and
and
have
enjoy the
fun.
holidays and be with our loved ones without feeling drained.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
Thanks so much, everyone, for being with us. Thank you, Beth. And to learn more about Beth, go to theintrovertentrepreneur.com. And I'm Sean Bay at sellingwithspirit.com. Goodbye for now. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.